Welcome, seekers, to an extremely potent, intense, electrical, stormy moon magic that is all about the Aquarius full moon with a total lunar eclipse on July 27th. What a powerful eclipse. Truly. I was sitting outside on my front porch watching a thunderstorm roll by, watching the electricity in the air sizzle as I was thinking about this full moon with this eclipse. It's one of the most powerful we'll see in quite a while, and we have seen in quite a while, and I think I had kind of been not thinking about it too much, kind of leaving it over there on July 27th for a little bit until I was ready to feel it out, and here I am, ready to talk to you about this, because this is the last transmission you will be receiving from this particular setting from me. I will keep doing transmissions, don't worry. But I will be changing location throughout this journey, so I'm excited for you to join me as we move forward, but it's very fitting for this transformational energy, especially if you happen to be a Leo or an Aquarian. You'll be used to the eclipse action by now hitting you in a really personal spot. And, if you have any personal planets or any important placements in Leo or Aquarius, these will also be energies that will be affecting you deeply. So keep that in mind. And it will be affecting all of us because these are big, big energies. And I have to say, this is a moon that will make people a little nervous, I think. A lot of astrologers are talking about the kind of trigger responses people are going to be having, the temptation to have an outburst or to speak your mind or to say something to somebody, which I normally talk about with full moons. It tends to bring that up with us, right? And with eclipses, there's the volatility of closing out and opening up all at the same time. There's all of this, right? But I have to say that despite the fact that a lot of people are talking about this as an irritable kind of moon where people are going to want to just say what they're feeling, I actually think people are going to feel very resistant to making some of the changes and acting on and integrating the information coming in. So there's actually, I think a lot of you out there are going to experience this eclipse with a bit of melancholy. I don't want to scare you guys, but it's just, there's a huge download coming in here. There's a huge shift in energy. We are closing out. We are at the tail end of the Leo Aquarian eclipse cycle. And therefore, we are starting to really get our full cohesive lessons from the last year and a half of eclipse action. So we are really coming to a head with it. The way I like to think about this full moon and this eclipse is like if you're pulling a rubber band and you've been pulling it back for the last 6 months. And you finally pull it to that fever pitch on this eclipse, and you can just feel the tension, right? You don't feel quite like releasing it, because what this eclipse is doing is it's giving us a lot of firepower to move into the next phase of this experience, because the last lunar eclipse we had was on January 31st, I believe, in Leo. And for those of us in North America, we got a beautiful show of the blood moon there. And I was going over the energies for that eclipse, because I always say with these eclipses, they balance each other out, they mirror each other. So we had the Leo lunar eclipse in January, and now we have the Aquarius lunar eclipse at the end of July. And what I was saying in January is that there was a lot of bravery being called up. We have to be brave enough to put our foot on a path and to release our demons and our old definitions of ourselves. Well, this full moon eclipse is upping that ante and saying, okay, you started to practice this. You were starting to practice what this new way of being was going to be. You're getting your sea legs within this new part of your life, but it isn't pretty, and you probably retracted a few times. You probably jumped forward and then kind of went internal again, jumped forward, went internal again, which is, that's a lifelong process. We're always going to do that. We're always going to take information and internalize. However, with this eclipse and full moon is going to be doing is saying, okay, you had your testing ground. Now we really need to get you moving. That's why I'm saying there's a lot of firepower. But I also see that's why there's a lot of resistance, and you might feel resistance to some of the calls coming up for you here, because it's going to be very personal, and it's going to be a lot about the people around you, and it's triggering a really powerful square with Uranus over in Taurus, which we have just been getting used to this new energy. And we're in a very tentative shifting phase here. So most people are experiencing really profound change all around them in their living situations, in their relationships, in their careers, in what they're doing in the world. And everybody's experiencing that differently, but everybody's getting a hit of that. Now let's look at the aspects here, because there's a lot going on. Not least of all, okay, Mercury will have just gone retrograde, fully retrograde, right before this full moon. So we already have a slowdown. We already have integration energy. I love Mercury retrogrades. Actually, I really do love them. Yes, they can cause some static in the world of electronics and what have you, but this is integration time. This is time to slow down. Think about your message. Think about what you want to share. Think about how you want to share of yourself. It's fantastic, right? So already we have one planetary, very personal, poignant planetary retrograde that you're going to be feeling as soon as this full moon hits. Not only that, we have Mars retrograde still. And it's in the midst of its retrograde, and it is in Aquarius at 3 degrees. So the full moon, the sun is going to be 4 degrees of Leo, the full moon is going to be 4 degrees of Aquarius, and then we have Mars retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius. As you can see already, we have some intensity there. Mars retrograde is often associated with sexual frustration, just irritability, impatience, frustration, just not being able to fully express and act on what you really urgently want to get in on, almost feeling like you just can't quite get a footing. You know, when you have one of those dreams where you're running away from something or you're running towards something and you can't get the ground under your feet? It's almost like that with Mars retrograde. And here next to the moon, we're triggering our emotional responses, and we're triggering our self-worth and our self-value. And not only that, the moon is in Aquarius, which is about, you know, how can we serve the collective? How can we bring up the collective? You can see how this is this is so complex. And we have the sun over in Leo, which is all about how we as individuals can step up and lead in our own lives. So there's a balancing point going on there with Mars and Mercury retrograde. And then, of course, we have this square. So with all that conjunction of Mars and the moon, that is squaring off against Uranus and Taurus, which is at 2 degrees. So they're cozy degrees that we have here. And that square, you know, squares are a point of tension that needs to be addressed. When we square off against something, we are transitioning, we are shifting, we are getting something addressed. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, actually. And so we have this interplay with the revolutionary. The revolutionary. We are no longer going to stick within the bounds of what seems normal or what has been accepted as the status quo in your life. And that's why I'm saying there may be some resistance. Not for everybody. Some of you may be so ready for this change, you can't wait. But Uranus wants to transform you. It wants to take you to another level. And that square off is going to be doing that. Is going to be hitting against very personal things that you feel like you are allowed to hold on to. And like I said, when we have these mirroring eclipses, so we have the Leo one in January, we're having the Aquarius one here at the end of July. What were we asking for at the end of January into February? Bravery to step into bigger shoes. That same message still applies here, but even more intensely, even more relentlessly. So I don't actually worry about people making that phone call or acting impulsively like I normally say to watch out for. Some of you may actually do that, yes. But I think most people are going to be kind of surprised at the information that comes in. And there may be a level of, whoa, like getting the wind knocked out of you. I'm trying not to scare you guys. It's not scary. It's not scary. It's just that when we're really called to be our fullest, biggest selves, it's like stepping into a giant spotlight that on a stage with a big audience of all the people you care about most, it's a lot of pressure. And I think just with the infusion of that information coming in, it feels like pressure. And that's what I'm saying with the rubber band getting pulled back to like it feels a little tense. It feels a little overwhelming. It feels a little bit like, do I have to do this all today? And the answer is no. You don't have to do all of it on this lunar eclipse full moon, even though some of you may be really eager to. You just take that breath, right? And there's one other big aspect here. Saturn is trining Uranus, and that is a really nice aspect. And here's where we get the bigger umbrella, the bigger context with which this moon is affecting us. Because the way that that's working is that we are getting the grounded, protected energy of Saturn still getting woken up by Uranus. And that's a really beautiful thing. And this is really where we're saying that there is a moment of transition, a big transition, really big. I'm looking at my notes here because the first note I put as I was watching the thunderstorm outside was hot trigger points that demand change. It's going to feel like, just when you have a little nerve pinch or something and it feels really sensitive. It's kind of like that. It's like, where have you been feeling afraid you're not enough? Where have you been feeling afraid that if you make the change, you'll lose everything? Where have you been feeling that if you really show up and you really take that risk that's been just talking to you in the background this whole time, that what if you lose it all? That's what full moons tend to do. They illuminate wherever we are no longer serving ourselves with our thoughts, with our emotional space, or with situations. And with an eclipse like this, it just amplifies it that much more. And it's understanding how you may have been holding your back in ways you weren't even conscious of the first half of this year. That's really what it is. These things get revealed in layers. And that's part of the fun of existence, is to figure this out and to do the sleuth work and to take the time to listen in. But there is something about this moon where a lot of us are going to be feeling and seeing how we have been holding ourselves back based on fears of failure, abandonment, detachment, and disconnection. I love Aquarians. I cry in almost every one of their videos. And it's because, Aquarian energy is known as a detached energy, a rational energy. But I understand Aquarian energy quite differently from that traditional lens. Aquarian energy's greatest fear is to be disconnected from the biggest energy and to be disconnected from the things that they care about the most. Aquarian energy is very deeply tied to connection. And not only that, but the sun in Leo is a heart chakra energy. Sun is at home in Leo. The sun is effervescent in Leo and is all about this exposed heart. The sun is just exposed, right? The sun is just burning bright, sharing, what have you. The Aquarian energy with the moon there is all about energetic connection. And when you have those, these are some of the most heartfelt energies that you can have all year. And they are about exposure. They are about acting from truth and commitment and focus. These are fixed sign energies that are all about taking risk and being out there and being bold and being big, each in their own way. It is very vulnerable energy. And for those of you who spent time around Aquarians and Leos, these are energies of people who are great performers. They make people laugh. They bring a lot of bright brilliance to a room. Both of these energies can just bring people together. And they just seem like they have it so together and they're so vibrant. But they feel things very deeply and they are very tender and they tend to, hide it a little bit, but they feel those things. And this applies to everybody. So this is the way the energy is going to feel. It's that idea of being big and bold and proud and loud and excited, and then realizing that in being that, you are at your most vulnerable, especially when it comes to something you care about. Especially when it comes to a time in your life when you need to make changes and when you need to show up and when you need to take deliberate action. And the thing that's going to happen here is you're going to see exactly where you need to take deliberate action. You are going to see exactly where you need to make changes. You are going to see exactly what's no longer serving you. It is going to be quite blunt. It is going to be quite to the point. It is going to be quite clear. There is not a lot of muffled energy here. And you're going to have to sit with that, and then you are going to have to think about how you want to address it. And for each of you, that could be something different. For some of you, that's about opening up a new chapter and taking a step into a really proactive new stage. Some of you, it's about addressing a boundary issue that you have not addressed. For some of you, it is about sharing your heart center and being honest with yourself about where you really care about something and sharing that with your friends or your family or somebody that you love. Whatever it is, it's going to be something very tender to you, probably. Though, if you don't have a lot of a Leo Aquarian energy, this may not be the biggest ticket item in your solar year. You may not really feel big intensity necessarily, right? And for everybody, this will be different. Once again, this is a big open time right now. So I'm gonna start pulling cards. I just talked. Page of Cups. There it is. Wow, my lighting is crazy. The putting your heart out there. The page is such a romantic, sweet energy. And it's a vulnerable place to be when the page shows up. This is somebody who can hold their heart out. I've been talking about that with Aquarians a lot over the last couple months. Part of the reason why I've been crying. There's a vulnerability to this. Which is why I think there's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some integration. So give yourself. I think this is on a Friday. This full moon eclipse is on a Friday. So for those of you who have a regular work schedule, I know a lot of you are servers or work in the service industry or work crazy jobs with weird hours. So some of you, this may not be the case. But if you have those couple days, just be chill. Just be chill. Don't worry. It'll all work out. Everything's always working out. Everything's always working out. And the only thing that this moon is doing is just helping you to see the path so you have a place to put your foot. It's exciting. It's got a lot of adrenaline. It's got a lot of excitement. It's very thrilling. High Priestess. That's so fitting. Every moon magic should have a High Priestess, right? Because this is really truly the energy of the moon to me. This is the gatekeeper between the seen and the unseen. This is a card of faith and intuition. And this is another theme that is coming up for me with the square off and with the truth telling and with the intensity. We also have an element of you have to have faith in your inherent value and that in taking risks, there will be support there. You have to have faith. When it's all lit up like this, when it's all open like this, the faith descends upon you. And I actually see that. I don't see people in paroxysm of paranoia and irritability and fear. I don't actually see that. What I see is this intuitive and literal knowing of where to put your foot on the path. And as long as you have faith in that, it will be clear. It will be clearly illuminated. Okay, let's pull a few more. Let's pull 3 more. I like my 5s. 5s are great for seeing how the path unfolds. 3 of Swords. Okay. With the square off. With Mars retrograde squaring off Uranus, with Mars conjunct with the moon, with the retrograde actions going all around, including Chiron retrograde in Aries, which is aspecting this in an interesting way as well, we are having another thing. This is another theme that was coming up in July. in January, and is now coming up again here in July, which is you have to let go of your old demons. You have to let go of where you were hurt before. The Three of Swords is about pain, right? It's about when our heart that we have exposed and we have shared of has been cut to the quick, when a dream has died, when an idea has died, when a relationship especially has died, when we have felt that we have self-betrayed. Some of you are just letting this old wound hold you back. This is a lack of faith. And that's, anything that feels like this will be illuminated in this moon. Anything that's still in your life that feels like this, anything that's been in your past that has felt like this, you just got to let that go, because it can't direct this faith-based energy. It cannot direct that. The Three of Swords will stymie your life every time you listen to it. This is the analytical mind trying to do the job that it is not meant to do. I have to be honest. Like the way it's showing up here with this intuitive water energy, the analytical mind is not designed to understand faith. It is not designed to understand all the millions of components that circle around and work out for you in day-to-day life. It is not designed to conceptualize the way that something leaving your life or something shifting or something changing is going to unfold for you in a way that works better for you. It cannot do that from the rational mind perspective. That is about spirit, that is about connection. And whenever this shows up, I'm always like, something must be released when it comes to that. And sometimes your analytical mind wants to protect you. It doesn't do a very good job. As you can see, trigger points, 10 of Wands, okay. Things you're holding on to. That's what eclipses are all about. Where are you feeling heaviness, weight? Where are you still holding on to things that have hurt you in the past, have scared you in the past, and are now, you've slowly let them start to define what you're allowed to love, what you're allowed to enjoy, what you're allowed to go after. These things sneak in, and that's why eclipses are great, because they come in and they kind of just help you see, illuminate, help you sweep it out, so it doesn't become dominant, so it doesn't become your number one way of handling things. And the Four of Pentacles. Wow, you guys. Okay. This is a conversation here about faith and vulnerability versus the mindset of lack and trying. Look at the difference here. Look at the difference here. Which state would you rather be in? The faith, the knowing, the intuitive, the relaxed, or the worrying analytical mind that says, I'm not enough, I've been hurt before, and I need to carry this with me all the way to the end of the road, otherwise it doesn't count for anything. This is the face-off. This is why I think people are actually going to be relatively quiet. Especially if it's something that takes you by surprise. I think a lot of you already know exactly what this is going to be. A lot of you already know exactly how this is going to affect you, and you're prepared. Seriously, because this is not subtle. We've been gearing up for this for a long time. It's an honest time. It's an honest time, and it will be honest with how you are holding yourself back. This isn't about anybody else and their process and their journey and their wounds and how their wounds are holding them back from doing what they need to do in order for you to be in their life, what have you, right? No. This is very much each of us, where we're holding ourselves prisoner, where we're having a lack of faith, where we are putting weird restrictions on ourselves, where we are too afraid to be vulnerable, where we are questioning our value. That is what this is about. This is not about external drama, and that's why I think people are going to be minding their own business naturally. Now, for some of you, this is what I have to say. There is an excitement, like jumping off a cliff into a nice deep pool of like adrenaline, but a good adrenaline, where it's like that this is holding you back, and that you've let this define you in the past, but it's not happening this time, and you do share, and you do show up, and you do try that thing, and you do make that effort. And I tell you what, that is going to be a magical eclipse time. That is going to be one of the most powerful eclipses of your year, of your life. This could really be a game-changing moon, an eclipse. This could really be as I'm getting to the end of this conversation, this could really be an eclipse and a full moon that changes the course of where you're going next and where you make choices that influence you for a number of months or even years. It's exciting. And yes, I know Mars is retrograde. I know Mercury is retrograde. I know Saturn is retrograde. I know we are in retrograde season big time. And that can often lead people to be nervous about initiating things or making changes. But when they're very truly based off heart-centered knowing and intuition, things like those retrogrades can't really get in the way. Retrogrades only get in the way of things that aren't working. Retrogrades only come in and mess things up that are not working. The things that work, the things that are about alignment and connection, will always work out regardless of any retrograde action. Things done out of faith and heart and honesty and integrity and showing up always work out for the best. Okay. A lot just came up there. I was excited and nervous to see what would come up as I talked through this, because as I'm talking here and as I'm getting to the end of this conversation, I'm realizing how much of an impact this moon is going to have. It's very symbolic and literal as well. And it really isn't about anybody else's journey but your own. So mind your own business. Mind your own business. Seriously. It's not your job to figure out other people's processes. And if some people get really quiet for a week or two after this full moon and you are looking to have understand that those people probably are integrating information that is new and overwhelming for them and that they need that time. And once again, it's not your process to worry about. So I'm going to stop there. I am wearing PinkLune's amazing jewelry. Can you imagine? This labradorite has zebra stripes in it. It is just amazing. This is for sale. This specific piece is for sale, and I'm leaving the link in the description box, as well as this rainbow crown. It is just so much fun. And hammered chandelier earrings. They are so gorgeous. She hand hammers these into these beautiful shapes. So I will leave all of PinkLune's info with the 15% off code below. I love you guys. And I know this is going to be a really fun ride if you're in for it. So I'm sending you all my heart, all my love. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you for the Leo eclipse coming up in just a few weeks from a new location. And I am so excited. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah.